post किया हुआ था. But okay, I think online is as good as the actual class, especially in these type of circumstances. Let us start with lecture number 10 and just keep showing you this slide, as most of the material for the course is coming from the internet or research publications, and obviously I'm adding my personal perspective and the new projects that I just keep thinking about, that what all we can do using blockchain. So this is what we did last time. Last time we spent time in going over the core concepts in blockchain, and then we covered NFTs, and then we started learning about IPFS, and also we spent time learning how to mint an NFT, how to create and then put a digital piece of art on a blockchain network. Today I intend to go in this sequence that we still review the NFTs, and then another topic that I want to cover before we spend time learning about IPFS is the Merkle tree in blockchain. And then because in last lecture a student asked about developing a blockchain, like having an understanding that what goes in a block in a blockchain. So there could be like many examples, but today I thought of just working out a kind of not complete but pretty much complete example, creating a block of like collecting a particular transactions and putting them in a block. And also please remember that designing blockchain is one, that is a difficult part, and then using a tool, may it be Bitcoin or Ethereum or Hyperledger Fabric, or there are so many others, and you can even write your own code as well to actually implement a blockchain. So first thing is design. So design has to be right. If people kind of don't understand that what shall go in a transaction, number one, and number two is that when should you mint a block. So the frequency in which that you are minting a block, what all should go in a block, and then how you link this block with another block. So that is important because this is where you will be confused once you are implementing or handling an application. So these are important things, especially what goes in a block. Who all should have the permission to read the block. If it is a public blockchain, then everybody can read in the block. If it is a permission blockchain, then you need to assign permission. Okay, whosoever is designing the blockchain, you need to ascertain that who should have access to what, and then creating a channel where you only share the amount of information which is related with that number of people in the network. So today I'll do an interesting examples, and then we can just think of many, and obviously you are going to get one in the exam as well. So so non-fungible tokens we covered last time. We said fungible is something which is interchangeable, like a dollar bill is fungible because you don't care which bill you have, like there is a unique number, but this unique number is not very significant. It's not playing any significant role. And even instead of one, you have four quarters for a dollar. You will not mind having, like, instead of 5,000 rupees, it may be a little inconvenient for you to keep, but 1,000 rupees is as good as 5,000 rupees. But non-fungible are the items that are unique, and they have just one copy. And that copy, basically, you may make copies of it, but those copies are not that valuable. So Mona Lisa and the paintings, and last time I showed you Miyada's bat with which he hit a six on Cheetah Sharma's last ball, was definitely a non-fungible items. So Ethereum played very smart, and they changed from Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was only related to very simple code that you can write in a Bitcoin, and all that code would do is make a transaction of Bitcoins going from some UTXOs to other UTXOs. Okay, but then Ethereum expanded the scope of blockchain, and now you have a torrent complete language, so that you can write almost any contract, and that, or smart contract, or any piece of code. So that piece of code is called smart contract, which is handling transactions. So now you can almost do any kind of transactions. So remember that in the very first lecture we learned about transactions. What are transactions? A transaction is once something is changing its state, its possession or ownership. So three, whether, so there is something which has a state. So a transaction, once a transaction happens, there's a change in state, or change in possession, or change in ownership, right? So if this happens, we can record that as a transaction in a ledger. What is a ledger? Ledger is just a table which says on this date, this thing has this change in status or ownership or possession. Okay, if it is a house, so you say on this date the house was built, it was new. On this date the house was rented to this person. On this date the house was vacated by this person. On this date the house was again rented to this person. And this date the house was changed the ownership, he sold it and sold it to this person. So that is a ledger. So ledger gives you a record of all the transactions happening on an asset, and so you can trace it back to the origin once it is created. So almost the same concept as in NFTs, that NFTs primarily you generate a token to represent ownership of a unique item. Okay, mostly for Ethereum it is the art and collectibles, but it could be other things. Even Miyada's bat could be an NFT which can be auctioned, and you just assign it a token and put it for auction, and where people are bidding in Ethereum, so that whosoever owns it, he gets the Ethereum, and there has to be a marketplace which takes the responsibility of handing this bat over to the person who has the highest bid. So the marketplace is where everybody is coming to the marketplace, bringing your, may it be digital or real things, you're bringing it there, and it is the responsibility of the marketplace to ensure the correctness of the authenticity of that item, which is unique, and then they put it for an auction, or they put it for sale, and the people are just offering a price, or if it is an auction, they have a deadline that up till this time, whosoever has the highest bid gets the ownership of the item. Okay, so so this is what an NFT is. A background, I hope it is not annoying. So it's a blockchain type की कोई वो background है. Okay, one official owner at a time and are secured by blockchain. So what blockchain does is that it is on a public ledger that everybody knows that this particular item, it may be something which everybody knows about the item, like the Miyada's bat, or the first tweet done by its co-founder. So there are things that everybody knows about them. So the people can just go to the blockchain in a public ledger and see that who has the ownership. At one time, only one person can have the ownership, and nobody can actually copy paste. This is what the blockchain ensures, that if something is in a public ledger, then no one else can claim the ownership unless a transaction has happened, and only then it changes hands. So this is very important, that only one person has the ownership, and it is visible to everybody in the world, and that is all about bragging, because people know that if there is something important like the first tweet, or there is a viral GIF or a piece of art, so everybody knows that who actually owns it, because it is on a public ledger. So this is what it is. And so they have made it a cryptocurrency based asset. Why? Because now a bank is not involved. It is a peer-to-peer a transaction of the money. Like it is changing, the ownership is changing hand, so is the ethers that are changing hands. So it is on a permissionless blockchain network, and it obviously gives more power to content creators than ever before. Today I'll be showing you some of the uh, digital pieces of art that are for auction, or people are just putting a price on it. And I'll show you the marketplace that where anybody you know, or you yourself, if you are a good artist who can create a digital art, can put your work for sale. So today we'll go and see that too. And then we learned that once you create, you need to write the date you are creating this NFT, not your art. You are creating this NFT and putting it and minting it. So putting it on a blockchain is like you are minting it, creating a new token, and that token is with your name. And once it is sold, then the transaction gets onto a public ledger, which says when it was sold and how much and to whom, and so all these details gets onto a public ledger. So minting an NFT only means that you have a digital piece of art, and it may not be digital, as I mentioned earlier, maybe a physical thing that you are creating it on a marketplace and creating a unique token for this and putting it on an Ethereum blockchain. So once you create it, now it is there on this. So last time I showed you a number of NFTs. This was the Neon cat, which was sold for 590 uh, 100 $590 and it was just the guy was just celebrating 10 years of this viral GIF, and so sold it for 300 ether, which is at that time of sale equal to this much money, and it was just this February 19, 2020. So I showed you this rose pic, which was sold for $1 million. This is just a photograph taken from a camera. Then I sorry. Then I told you about the concert, and people are coming up with newer and newer ideas. And this guy thought, why not to have a concert where he is using digital art to actually create the backgrounds and the animations he put in the concert, and then he sold it for $1.2 million. And then I showed you this as well, if you remember. This is a switch, the artist name is Spark, and he put it for auction, and this was auctioned at $1.44444 million. So this is the first tweet by Jack Dorsey, sold for $2.9 million. Remember this JPEG image, which says first 5,000 days, sold for 69.5 or $6 million. This is the most expensive CryptoPunk, and last time we spent a lot of time learning about why CryptoPunks and the essence, that what motivated this programmer to write a program which could create these CryptoPunks, and people are giving a lot of value, and this is the most expensive out of all the CryptoPunks. Once I put it on the slide, it was $11.75 million, and somebody might have taken his space already, I don't know. So, and then I talked to you about the CryptoPunks, that these are 24 by 24 pixel, very low resolution, 10,000 of these images generated algorithmically. Originally, they could be claim free, and then they started trading on NFTs. And because of these, because these were trading, so comes a standard which is ERC 721 that talks about how to write a program where you take a piece of art and put it on a marketplace, and then you start trading it. And remember, I told you that even the artists can get a royalty for every transaction happens on that piece of art. So it is good for the artist. Otherwise, they just create, and usually their work is stolen. And if it is digital, but now they can make money. So this is the way the transactions are seen and recorded on the ledger. As you can see that here, this particular CryptoPunk, and told you that there's a website which tells you all about this, was sold for this much amount on this date. Now people are putting offers, and which are here and being recorded on the ledger. And these are the links I gave you to see the lab which actually created these CryptoPunks, and then you can go and see all of them, the picture of all of them on this website. Here are some of these, and they are color coded. Like some are not for sale, and the others are where they are open for bidding, and then the third is where the bids are already closed. So there are three types of backgrounds. You can see this background and this background and this background. This NFT market is getting crazy. It just has like $5 billion market capitalization, went 5x up a few months back. So a lot of interest, and then we learned how to create an NFT. It was you create a digital piece of art, and then you mint it. Mint it means you go to a marketplace. You got to have a digital wallet, and we'll quickly see that too. And because it's a file, so a file can have a hash. So you just put the two hash function. The file is nothing but digital data, and digital data you just have all the data and creates a hash, and hash is a unique fingerprint. Means nobody can now change that file, anything in the file. It may be a JPEG image or an MPEG movie or whatever it is. Now nobody can actually change it. If any changes happen, then you will immediately know that this is not the original piece of art, because the artist himself has computed the hash. Means that obviously the software will do this for him or her, and has a unique fingerprint, and he needs to name this token so that people can know it with this token, and then there has to be a token symbol. And the creator, whenever there are transactions, always get a part of the deal, and which is good because part of the contract, a smart contract, that whenever a transaction is going to happen, okay, so this is written in the smart contract, the piece of code that basically handling the transaction of NFTs, that he will get. And how much, it is up to him, that once he created that token, he needs to specify that right there, and then whenever there's a transaction, from 5 to 10%. So the marketplace puts a cap on the royalty an artist can get, and he can get from 5 to 10%, depending upon how much he wants to have. So once he creates that, it's get into a blockchain, a ledger, and governed by a smart contract. So whenever there is a transaction, the transaction will happen, it will change hand, and it is sold for some ether. And so the transaction will tell that for how much money this particular NFT is sold for. But remember that the art itself, the digital art itself, is not part of the blockchain. Otherwise, it will make everything very bulky. Obviously, that because every computer has to have a copy of the blockchain. So you don't want to keep. And today we are going to spend a little more time learning about this aspect, that you want to make it light, or you want to, maybe some nodes may have, even all the transaction, but the other nodes which you are, for example, running on your mobile, on a laptop, and you don't want that to deal with humongous amount of data, because it's ever increasing data. New blocks are being created and they are put on the blockchain, And obviously you can have access to the entire all the blocks in the blockchain, but at the same time you want to have the minimum stress on your laptop or on your computing device, because you are just a user who wants to make sure that your transaction gets into the blockchain or not. So the actual digital file is not stored in the blockchain, rather it is stored somewhere else, and that is an IPFS, okay, interplanetary file system, and it's a new peer-to-peer web like blockchain, and we'll learn more about this. But you have a unique fingerprint and a token name and a symbol that gets onto a block. And interestingly, I told you earlier as well that you can just download that piece of art free of cost. Today we shall be downloading some of the very uh, interesting, very beautiful NFTs. And just to show you that now there's a marketplace and people are just putting all their pieces of art on that. So those who like digital art can really enjoy. Uh, they are really so beautiful. The what is there on the marketplace, and so I'm going to show you some of these today. So you get a digital bragging right. Basically, this is what it is all about, that you have a bragging right that you own this particular NFT. So this is the marketplace. It is one of the marketplace. Most famous one is OpenSea marketplace for NFTs. And on the website, I'll take you to the website as well. It says this is Hong Kong Spring, and this is digital art. I have been to Hong Kong. I remember, like, this is the most densely populated piece of land on this earth. The minimum height of the building is 44 stories. It's like if you are in Hong Kong, uh, it's an amazing experience, because you have to look up to, and if you are in a street, you hardly see a sun, because it's just buildings and buildings and buildings. It's like the mountains of buildings, and so very nice photograph. Not really a photograph, it's a piece of art. So it's a digital art where he has mixed the digital image with his artistic work. And so then you have, like, more. There is a complete portfolio of an artist named Javier Mariscal. And if you click here, so we go to that website, and I need to share. Let me share the screen instead of the link. Okay, so नजर आ रही है आपको ये? This is the, so this is OpenSea. Let me just first go to the website. So this is the marketplace. This is called OpenSea.io, and here you see that discover, collect, and sell extraordinary NFTs. OpenSea is the world's first and largest NFT marketplace. So marketplace is where you can just download yours. So this is the artist who has uh, so you can go to this one, and as you can see, so usually people basically make a pool and then buy an item. Uh, so this item, I really like this one. Uh, so you see, this is from quadrocopter. Apparently, this image is taken from a quadrocopter, and its current price is this much, and people are just offering money to buy this. And if I go back, so all these are from this artist, and going back, this is yet another which is on auction. This is called AI sculpture. So you see, this is amazing, really beautiful. So you can actually have go and find out the others as well. So there is an active bid on this, and it says the sale ends December 18, 2021, and it has been on auction for last 9 hours, and I have been tracking it. It is at this point 971,423. Uh, so here is yet another artist who has a complete portfolio on the marketplace. So I mean, you can just create and just put all your artwork there, and everything is on sale. So if you see here, these are his some of his artwork, and you can find out that how much offers, the amount he is getting the offers, and decide to sell or not to sell any. So so this is about this artist, and this is what I just showed you. Um, um, a photograph taken of a beach, and its name is also something which reflects a cosmopolitan. So, and this is on sale. And last night, once I saw it, the top bid was $224,000, around this much, and it is called AI data sculpture. And then a few hours back, once I checked, at the last top bid was $366,000, around that much. And now we have just seen it is $337,000, and the auction will end today on 18th. So, so now we understand that NFTs are the digital art, and they are artists who are creating this digital art, and they have the portfolios on the marketplace, and they're just placing their art there, and then there are people, and everybody knows. The good thing about the marketplace is everybody who likes to have NFTs, he comes and checks, and if he likes something, he can just put a bid and an offer. And there are things which are for auction, and there are others where you can just make an offer to a person, and those are not for auction. So, so this, first of all, it guarantees that the artist is the original creator. The NFT guarantees this, and NFT also records on a public ledger the ownership, that who now owns it. And so last time we saw that it is very simple. Anybody can actually mint an NFT. All you have to do is you got to have a digital wallet. Already saw that how easy it is to have a digital wallet. For MetaMask, for example, you just download, and then you have to go on this OpenSea. It really helps you to create your profile, insert links to your work on your Facebook page, or the other stuff, and then you create your first item. So it's again very easy. All you have to do is just create, upload the digital file, and but then you have to put a little money, and this is where the catch is. Because it is on public blockchain, it has, so it'll execute a smart contract, and once all the nodes in the Ethereum network are executing a smart contract, you got to pay a gas fee, depending upon how complex your smart contract is, how much time will it take to execute. So you have to put a little money, which you will pay as a transaction fee. So, and this is only first time that you have to pay, and once you start transacting, then you need not to worry about it. Okay, so this is and then you can list all your NFTs for sale. and then you can track, manage your NFT business. As I've shown you, the artist having so many of the artwork on the OpenSea marketplace platform, and he must be just looking at what is happening, how much offers is he getting, and should he be selling it or not. And so this is the OpenSea page, which tells you the beginner's guide to creating and selling digital art NFT. So you go on this page, and I've given you a link here, and then it will just help you, guide you through the process of creating an NFT for yourself. Now I want to cover another important topic. So we are almost done with NFT. Um, More like, I don't want to give an assignment for you to create an NFT, because then you have to pay money for it. But I hope it is so simple that anybody can do it. I'm sure with some hit and trials. But now there is another very important topic before I cover IPFS. And this is something which we did not cover earlier, and I just wanted to at some appropriate time in the course. So this is called Merkle root and Merkle tree. So what is meant by Merkle? Merkle is the name of the scientist, okay, who wrote this paper like many years back, and it is now very fundamental to Ethereum and Bitcoin and IPFS, and it has so many applications. Very simple idea, but has many applications. This is I took this morning. Bitcoin, remember, we have been seeing this website where you see all the blocks, new blocks being minted, and this is the latest block that was minted on this morning, and this is name of the miner. And if you go and click here, so you go to this, and remember, this is the proof of work. This is the Byzantine general problem that Bitcoin has solved. It has made this so difficult that nobody other than who are really seriously doing this can mint a new block. So with these number of leading zeros, and you see a timestamp, this is block number, this is the miner, the number of transactions. Look at the number of transactions in the block. This is like difficulty level, how difficult it is to mine this. But here is something very important. It says Merkle root, and if you look at this Merkle root, it is 256 bit. Okay, that's a Merkle root which is 200 and which has 256 bits. So interesting. And then rest is nuance is important. Remember that we have spent a lot of time learning about the nuance, where you need to generate this number to get all these leading zeros, and we have an exercise. So I think we now have a fairly good understanding of almost everything here, but this is very important, the Merkle root. This is important. The Merkle root is very important, and let's see what is Merkle root. So as we know, in blockchain, you have block. Every block has a number of transactions. Okay, so block 1 has number of transactions, and you create hash of all the information in a block and put that hash here. And this block points to the hash of the previous block, and it also computes its hash. So there is a hash value for each block, and every block has the hash of the previous block incorporated in it before it computes its hash. So if somebody tries to play with the chain, changes this block, and so the hash will change. If you put a new block here, if this hash changes, this will no more be pointing to this. So once you try to go back, those who are validating, once you try to go back, you will not be going back to that, and immediately you will know that this is not a valid block and you don't want to trust it. So this is how this whole thing is, that transactions, and there are, like we saw here, there are 2,787 transactions in this particular block. So transaction, and what a transaction, how does a transaction look like? A UTXO, input UTXOs and output UTXOs, addresses. Every address has some Bitcoin, and you are collecting them, and then you have to consume all an entire UTXO. Remember, we spent a lot of time. There was a question in the exam as well, and then you want to send some to an address, so it creates a new UTXO, and then rest of it, whatever is the chain, you create another UTXO for yourself, and then it gets back to you. And so, welcome assalam.
सर एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन है सर, ये जो आपने ओपन सी की बात की, जो मार्केट प्लेस है सर,
जी जी जी,
इसमें सर मतलब पहले से ही लोग मतलब उसमें उन्होंने आईडीज बनाई हुई है या कोई भी बना सकता है, मतलब जो आप
जी कोई भी
कह
बना
रहे हैं?
सकता है, कोई भी बना सकता है। आप अभी जाएं, हम आप भी अपना अकाउंट क्रिएट कर सकते हैं उसमें, तो एनीबॉडी कैन क्रिएट एन अकाउंट।
लेकिन वो गैस भी आपको देनी पड़ेगी।
वो जब आपने मिंट, अगर मिंट जब करेंगे ना अकाउंट, तो आप बना लेंगे अपना ना, बट वंस यू वांट टू अपलोड अ डिजिटल फाइल ऑन अ ब्लॉकचेन, तो आपको थोड़े से पैसे उसमें डालने पड़ेंगे। उन्होंने वो मिनिमम दिया हुआ है कि यू हैव टू पुट दिस मच मनी, एंड उन्होंने लिखा हुआ है कि ये हम नहीं रख रहे, it is for this money will go once your piece of art gets transacted and somebody buys it, तो वहां पे आपको इसकी जरूरत पड़ेगी। एंड मेरा नहीं ख्याल बहुत ज्यादा पैसे हैं, those who are really artists, ठीक है, and वो they can perhaps, digital artists, there are very few in Pakistan unfortunately, but those who are digital artists, ठीक है, तो वो दे कैन एक्चुअली टेक रिस्क ऑफ दैट लिटिल मनी, क्योंकि अगर वो उनकी बिक जाती है तो वो तो फिर बहुत ज़्यादा, दे मेक लॉट ऑफ मनी ऑन दिस, एंड देन इट इज़ अ कंटिन्यूअस सोर्स ऑफ। बट लेकिन मैं देखा कि either you are just creating a piece of art or it is just very novel, very innovative, like the one which says AI sculpture. There must be an AI algorithm that is creating that video or MPEG image. So is the CryptoPunks. It's a computer program, so people get more interested if you combine computer science with your statics and generate something that basically gets more interest of the people. This is what I have observed. So those of you who are good programmers and those who are like AI machine learning experts, you may think of like creating a piece of art, by using a program, but that should have a theme in it, or तो उसके लिए we may have just a different lecture or a class or a workshop कि उसमें क्या किया जा सकता है, or maybe because maybe like art student and our students who understand it better कि NFTs किस तरह से चलते हैं, और ये लाजमी I think though I have never recommended anybody to buy bitcoins or ethers or stuff, but I would very strongly suggest that we must create NFTs. We should find out artists in Pakistan, and we must create NFTs and put them on the marketplace, and this is perhaps the easiest way to make money, and you directly get money. So there are no banks involved, you don't have to take permission for SCCP, you don't have to register any company. So it is amazingly simple that you are just in a marketplace and just selling things and making money. And so you may have a company where you just find out these artists who could create digital art, or तो इस तरह से है कि हर कोई कर सकता है, ठीक है ना जी।
अच्छा सर, ये इसके ऊपर कल मैंने एक किया था, ओपन किया, तो फर्स्ट मिनट जो है वो फ्री है ओपन सी के ऊपर।
ये तो बहुत ही
तो
जबरदस्त।
फर्स्ट आप कोई भी आर्ट, कोई भी वीडियो, कोई भी अगर आप पिक्चर अपलोड करते हैं तो फर्स्ट मिनट इज फ्री। तो मैंने कल एक पिक्चर अपलोड किया, मिंटेड है, तो वो फ्री में हो गया। 0 ईथर इन माय वॉलेट।
जबरदस्त, ये देखें तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है। वो कह रहे हैं कि पहला जो है आपका वो फ्री में चला जाता है, सो दिस इज वेरी गुड, राइट, बट वी शुड टेक दिस फर्स्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी, जो कि कोई अच्छी बहुत बहुत अपीलिंग किस्म की चीज है ना, लाइक एनीबॉडी हु लुक्स एट इट इज वाओ दिस इज समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, बट देन जस्ट तो this is very good. Like if you find out an artist and जी जी
सर जरूरी नहीं कि जैसे डिजिटल, वो एक आपने तस्वीर बताई थी वो एक रोज की ना, तो वो तो
हाँ
डिजिटल नहीं है, वो तो किसी ने एक तस्वीर ली ना, तो
ओ
इस तरह भी
यस
चीजें आप सकते हैं
यस
फोटोग्राफी।
बिल्कुल। आप जेपैग इमेजेस भी हो सकते हैं, आपने कैमरे से तस्वीर खींची है वो भी हो सकती है, आपने आपकी कोई आपने मूवी बनाई हुई है वो भी हो सकती है, ठीक है। लेकिन एनीबडी टू पे फॉर इट, इट मस्ट बी ऑफ इंटरेस्ट टू हिम, सो दिस इज द पॉइंट, सही है ना। सो लेकिन ये एरिया है which definitely I would strongly recommend that we should explore and see कि हमारे यहाँ बहुत अच्छे अच्छे फोटोग्राफर्स भी हैं, ठीक है। Those who have spent like all their life in taking pictures, images, तो उसमें कोई ऐसा यूनिक इंस्टेंस which captures some interesting movement or event of something happening, वो इस तरह की वो हो सकती है NFTs जो हैं। सो डेफिनेटली सो अच्छा, तो यस बड़ी अच्छी बात है, और आई थिंक इट्स गुड टू नो कि भी पहली आप चीज़ फ्री में डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं, उसको अपलोड कर सकते हैं। अच्छा अब देखिए हम आते हैं दोबारा से कि नाउ एज आई मेंशन अर्लियर दैट देयर आर लाइक 200 2,787 transactions, or we know about these transactions. I should have put another slide showing you a transaction, but we know the transactions. बस इतने UTXO से इन UTXO में जा रहा है, that is all. And so the addresses of the UTXOs and addresses of the UTXOs. तो अब होता ये है कि the Merkle tree, how the Merkle tree is made, okay, and how do we get this which says Merkle root and why it is important. So we need to learn this because the same concept is used in IPFS as well. So let's now figure out that what is this Merkle tree. Achha. What is a Merkle tree? That you have all these transactions and you make a binary tree of these transactions, collecting two of them together and taking hash and then going up. So Merkle tree एक binary tree होता है, like a tree. That tree has a root, ठीक है। ट्री क्या होता है आपका, whenever you have a tree, इसका रूट होता है, ठीक है। सो द रूट से सारी इसकी ब्रांचेस निकलती हैं। सो यू हैव अ ब्रांच गोइंग हियर एंड अ ब्रांच गोइंग हियर एंड एवरी ब्रांच देन हैज लीव्स। सो ये एनएफटी बनने लगी है तो so this is the root, these are the branches, these are the leaves. So आमतौर पे so that's why it is called a tree. See जो भी I think interestingly, the guy who wrote this paper never called it a Merkle tree because his name was Merkle, but it gets so famous that people started calling him with his name. Perhaps I'll put the paper he wrote from where it all originated, just to appreciate that. Sometimes such a simple concept, gets so useful because अभी सारा Bitcoin, Ethereum, IPFS is built onto this concept, uses this concept to the core of these three uh, applications. So what you do is that you collect two of them together. So let's say this is a transaction T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, T7, T8, T9. So you take hash of transaction 1, hash of transaction 2, hash of transaction 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you again collect two of them together. This is a typical binary tree and hash these together. Two hashes, hash it together. Two hashes, hash it together. And then you have two hashes, again hash it together and hash it together. And then two hashes hash. If you have odd number, then you replicate the last one. Okay. So you take hash of it by itself. If you have 9, for example, so you have 8 and then 9 and then again 9. So make it 10 because you got to have a group of 2 and then you just keep combining them and you get to a hash which is 256 bit. Here again you have hash which is SHA-256 if you're 256 bit. Here every hash is a 256 bit wide. So 256 bit and 256. Okay, hash 256, and this is what is put in the blockchain in a block, Merkle root. Okay, so again, so you have it's a regular binary tree. So put two of them, so you generate a there. Regular binary tree, usually these are the nodes. You must have heard about the binary search algorithm, where you have a list and then you can search through the list using binary trees. So we understand there is a transaction on the left and transaction on the right, left and right, and you take hash by, we know how to take a hash and put it there. So this is 1 and 2, this is 3 and 4, and this is then A and B, so you get a C. This is Merkle tree. And why it is important in data structure? We are not now talking about the Bitcoin or stuff. Usually what happens is that you have a amount of data here. So this is data D1, this is data D1, this is data D2, this is data D. So for example, you have a big database, you split it up into 4 parts. This is what the Mr. Merkle wrote, that if you have a big database and you need to verify that a piece of data is part of the database or not, without getting into and doing a lot of comparisons, you can figure this out by doing this. And this is precisely what is done in IPFS as well. Like if you have a big amount of data, you split it into chunks. जी हम ये क्वेश्चन कोई नहीं. अच्छा, I think let us take a break.
Sir, I have a question.
जी please बताएं.
How do the individual nodes, certify a particular transaction in a Merkle tree? It is because of the software itself.
देखिए जो
Because जब ब्लॉकचेन में एक पब्लिश होना है तो वो तो ठीक है, मर्कल ट्री के ट्रंक पे चले गए, बहुत सारी नीचे ब्रांचेस लीव्स को कंबाइन करके ट्रंक पे चले गए, एक ब्लॉकचेन में एक नया ब्लॉक ऐड हो गया और वो सारी नोड्स पे चला गया.
देखिए इस तरह से होता है कि इफ यू रिमेंबर, जब हमने ट्रांजैक्शन पढ़ी थी तो हमने कहा था कि जो कमिट कर रहा है ना, उसने अपने डिजिटल सिग्नेचर एसर्ट करने हैं. ये मेरे UTXOs हैं, ठीक है. सो एवरीबॉडी हैज हिज पब्लिक की. सो अपने उनका वो हैश करता है, अपनी प्राइवेट की से उसको साइन करता है कि उस ट्रांजैक्शन को, कि ये मैं UTXO से इन UTXOs को दे रहा हूँ. जिनको दे रहा होता है उनका भी पब्लिक की का एड्रेस, उनका जो एड्रेस होता है वो पब्लिक की से उनका ड्राइव होता है. सो व्हाट इज अ ट्रांजैक्शन? इफ आई एम ऑन द बिटकॉइन ब्लॉकचेन, आई हैव अ डिजिटल वॉलेट, आई हैव अ पब्लिक प्राइवेट की पेयर. I don't share my private key with anybody because that is the most important, the most valued thing in the blockchain is the person's public private key. So मेरे प्राइवेट की आ गई, मैंने ट्रांजैक्शन बनाई, उसका हैश निकाला, ठीक है, और अपनी प्राइवेट की से उसको साइन किया और मैंने आई सेंड इट टू द पीयर्स, जो 4 5 6 पीयर्स थे, उनको दे दिया, उन्होंने आगे दे दिया, उन्होंने आगे दे दिया. अब सब ने एक लेजर में डाल दिया, अभी ब्लॉक नहीं बना इसका, ठीक है. सो दिस इज अ ट्रांजैक्शन. सो देयर आर नाउ नंबर ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शंस हैपनिंग and they are just being copied everywhere because this is what the distributed network is. So every node in the network would have number of transactions. Okay, yeah. हर एक ने मेंशन किया फी भी यहाँ पे, जी मैं इस ट्रांजैक्शन अगर मेरी आपने ब्लॉक में डाल दी, सो आई विल पे दिस मच, एंड टू ने कहा आई विल पे दिस मच, आई विल पे दिस मच, एंड एवरी ट्रांजैक्शन आल्सो हैज अ साइज. UTXOs हैं, दस उधर जा रहा है, and obviously you need to make sure कि whosoever is now mining this would need to go and see कि अच्छा इसके UTXOs में इतने पैसे हैं, इसको जो जा रहे हैं, so he needs to calculate and see yes the math seems correct. Okay, so he has to verify, and that's why he is charging the transactions some money because the onus is on this miner. So he goes and checks and checks and checks and checks. He says यार इसने तो पैसे कोई नहीं रखा, इसने कम रखे हैं, इसको भी निकाल के पर इफेक्ट से मुराद remains in the ledger but will not get to a block. ठीक है, वो आउटस्टैंडिंग ट्रांजैक्शन रहेगी उधर, and some transaction may remain there for 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, because no miner is interested in verifying your transaction, because first thing motivates him is this value and then the size. If it's a large size, he says, I have to do a lot of computation. You may be just using 10 UTXOs and sending it into 20. So he has to do a lot of work. So he is not interested how much Bitcoins are going from UTXOs to UTXO. He's not interested in that, because the money he's going to make is this, no matter how much you are transferring. And the amount of computation he requires to do depends upon that how big is your transaction, that how many UTXOs he has to go and physically, I mean, the algorithm has to go and check and validate and then say, yeah, this transaction seems to be a valid transaction and can be placed in the Bitcoin. So he brings those transactions which he wants to put in a block. ठीक है, यहाँ पे ले आता है, कहता है ये transaction मैं block में डाल दूंगा. Okay, so he says, okay, all these transactions I'll put T1, I'll not put T2, T3, I'll put T4, T5, T6, you know. So he says, I'm going to make a block of these transactions. अब वो यहाँ पे इनका Merkle tree बनाता है. So it says hash of this, hash of this, hash of this is already there. So collect 2 hashes, hash, collect 2 hashes, hash, hash, collect hash, collect hash. और ये निकल आता है इसका the Merkle root. So it puts the Merkle root here. So it has to do a lot of work. This is the Merkle root. Now he has the hash of the previous block. वो इधर डालता है इसे. And the nuance. And there are few timestamps here. वो timestamps डालता है. And now he has a block to be mined. अब वो he start changing this number. ठीक है, algorithm miner है इस number को algorithmic. He's just using all the hardware he has invested in. He's just changing noise. He's trying to generate those number of leading zeros. And once he generates that, he says, oh, I have minted. And then he basically send that new block with this, the proof of work, to peers, and then it goes to everybody, and everybody can easily check, because once you have this number nuance, then everybody can check, yes, this is the minted, rightly minted block, and which rightly pointed to the previous block. Okay, so this is actually the block after this block. So once everybody gets it, the other miners, they have to quit, because they find out now a block has already been minted. So now they need to mint the new block. Okay, all the transactions that have gone into the block are gone from the ledger, and rest of the transaction, and obviously it is going to take him some time to mint. So all the transactions that are happening once he started minting, so usually it takes him about 10 minutes. To mint a new block, it is going to take him around 10 minutes. So all the transactions which are happening in this time, once he has already selected, and he cannot just put a new transaction in here, okay? Because he has the transaction which he thought I'll consider it in this block, and he is only playing with that number. No, he's playing with that, playing with that, and he said, yeah, I have now the block. So the ledger already have a number of transactions. So these transaction, people will take these transactions out from the ledger, and they say, now we need to mint a new block, because some of the transactions have already been here. Now I am just waiting for to check whether my transaction is in the new block or not. So this is where the Merkle tree will come in. And I don't have all the transactions, because I have a light client where I'm not interested in mining. I am not interested in verification. I am only just keeping a copy and want to know whether my transaction has made into a new block or not. So let's just take a break, and then I'll cover फिर हम आके इसको करते हैं.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, ji, thank you.